Welcome to Hard Time Sports. I'm Matthew. This topic is March Madness 2018 Sweet 16. We have 16 teams that are vying for the NCAA championship this year in 2018 in men's college basketball. So let's start off with my picks for the round of 16 for today's games and tomorrow's games. I believe there's 4 games today on the slate and 4 games tomorrow on the slate. So today's games are the South region and the West region. Now let's start off in the South region. I have 0 teams that are left in the South region. Completely broken bracket. Terrible. So of those 4 teams that are in, here are those 4 teams. In the first game, you have Kansas State versus Kentucky. In the second game, you have Nevada versus Loyola Chicago. Here's who I think is going to make it to the Elite 8 and will play on Saturday. I'm going to take Kentucky to beat Kansas State. And I'm going to take Loyola Chicago to beat Nevada. So your Elite 8 for the South region will be Kentucky versus Loyola Chicago. The right to go to the Final Four. Now, let's go to the West region for today's games. You have Florida State versus Gonzaga. And you have Michigan versus Texas A&M. I'm going to take Michigan to beat Texas A&M. And I'm going to take Gonzaga to beat Florida State. That'll be your Elite 8 game in the West region for the right to go to the Final Four. That game is played on Saturday also. Now, off to the East region where the games are played tomorrow. You have Villanova versus West Virginia and Purdue versus Texas Tech. I'm taking Villanova to beat West Virginia. I just think they're a better team. And I think Purdue, if Isaac Haas can play, will give him a key advantage to beat Texas Tech. But Texas Tech is playing really good. But I'm still going to take Purdue to get to the Elite 8 in the East. So the East will be Villanova versus Purdue for the right to go to the Final Four. And that game will be played on Sunday. Now, let's go to the Midwest region. We have Kansas versus Clemson. And you have Duke versus Syracuse. Well, I have Kansas getting to the Elite 8. So I think Kansas will beat Clemson. But at the bottom of that region, I had Michigan State winning the whole thing, and they lost. So, I think Duke will beat Syracuse. So in the Midwest region, you'll have Kansas versus Duke to go to the Final Four, and that game will be played in the Elite 8 on Sunday. So, if all my picks go to where they should go, and those teams win, then you would have in the South, Kentucky versus Loyola Chicago. In the West, you would have Gonzaga versus Michigan. In the East, you'd have Villanova versus Purdue. And in the Midwest, you'd have Kansas versus Duke. Those would be my picks to go to the Elite 8, which those games will be played on Saturday and Sunday for the right to go to the Final Four in San Antonio, Texas. Those are my picks for the Sweet 16 to get to the Elite 8. So on Saturday, I will do my picks to go from the Elite 8 to the Final 4 of the NCAA tournament for March Madness 2018. I will talk to you guys later on my next blog. I'm Matthew. Enjoy the blog!